Hi there, everybody. It's Vicki Ross back on this little lovely that I did the other day. I am going to, well, let me back up. I have seen professional artists take what's on their easel and rip it to shreds. And then they do it again. They paint it again. And because I am a mixed media person, not meaning glue and scissors, but meaning I'm fairly proficient in almost every media. For the life of me, I'll never get that right. But anyway, this one turned muddy on me. And I thought, okay, I could put gouache, which is opaque watercolor, or casein, which is same thing but with a milk protein instead of gum arabic. And then I thought, this is the rough paper from Cotty. And I'm certainly not going to tear this up. So what I'm going to do is come over it with soft pastels. And the reason is because the first two options, gouache and casein, while they are opaque, would tend to lift some of the watercolor that's already on there. So I'm going to have to fight that for a while to get it to where I might like it. Okay? Basically, there's nothing wrong with the composition. I could throw it into Photoshop and check it, but if I were really concerned about that, I'd just go ahead and paint it now and then put it in the computer and see if I could crop it at a more perfect composition, if there is such a thing. So I pulled out, and because my camera's here and my comfy chair is here and my lights are here, I didn't want to move over to my pastel station and move everything. So I thought, okay, y'all are used to seeing this angle. If I go over there, it's going to be a over my shoulder thing. So I pulled this box to keep it easy on me. This is Senayer's 80 half pastels assorted. Some of my pastel sets I do leave in their box. And it looks like a couple have gone missing. One has gone missing. And it's fine. We're not going to be using that color, that much brown. So I'm going to put this right here. I already sprayed the back of this and put this box on top of it for a while to flatten it a little more. I'm going to wet this used wipe because I like to take soft pastels after I've used them and wipe them off. Not necessarily with wet, but alright, I did that anyway. The best thing to use for that is an old bath towel. And no, I've never used a bath towel to this condition, so this had to have come from somewhere else. I could tape it. Do I want to tape it? Nah, not necessarily. It's not going anywhere. So, let's jump right on in. Got to remind myself to watch the card. I forgot what I deleted and what I didn't, and just as sure as I delete something off the card, it'll be something I haven't worked on yet. And I am jabbering. See if you can see that. And you can. So now there is no other excuse but to start. Soft pastels were my, oh, let me back up a minute. I do sometimes use gloves in a bottle. I think I will. This is a bottle I've had for at least 15 years and it's still full here. So I don't use it very often. I'll wear my dirty fingernails and stained hands everywhere to, because I worked hard to become an artist. But for some reason, the other reason I kind of put it on is that the pastels tend to dry out my hands. That's really the biggest reason I use them. I mean, use this stuff. Okay, let's rock and roll, babies. Now, because this is rough, it's going to, the pastels will skip across the top of the texture, and the under texture will still show through in some places. So take a deep breath, and here we go. Now, senneliers are known for being extremely soft, and if you press down, you will feel all of the tooth. So let me see if I can, yeah, look at this if you can. See how it just bumped over the top and you can still see through it? And the other thing is that because soft pastels do not, I mean, there's not any way to mix them. You can't put them on a palette and swirl them around. This is how you and then we've got some more of that color right in here. And we've got some, I'm being very slow and deliberate. My issue with watercolor is that I tend to get in a big hurry because I'm afraid the paper is going to dry on me. Now then, let's use this peachier color. This is how you blend or make new colors in soft pastels. You merely put a couple on top of each other. And because you're seeing through to the other layers, you're almost doing an impressionistic style where they would put a brush stroke of blue and a brush stroke of yellow and a brush stroke of blue, yellow. And from up close, it would look like brush strokes of blue and yellow. I'm sorry. This is kind of wineish. Let's use this one. Excuse me. Generally, I work from dark to light, and just the minute I say that, I'll do something else, but you can get quite a few layers on rough paper, and the watercolor has not filled the tooth. And I don't have to worry about covering everything with every layer. Just something like that. And then I need an orange. Orangey beautiful. I'm going to go for this clearer, more orange. Pastels are opaque. Taking my time, taking my time. See, there's one I didn't clean. But all you do is just wipe it on that towel, and it's a greenish. And I don't want a greenish. Let's use this one, it's bright. Very gently I'm going to add. And this will serve to lighten gradually. And if I want to tap it with my finger, I can. I never, 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 ever blend, except if it's in the beginning stages and I don't want the white of the paper to shine back at me. But in order to blend colors, to make new colors, I never do that. Hardly ever. I am barely touching the paper. I'm just skimming it over with the touch of an angel. That's from my dearly departed friend, Urana. Christy Tarbert. Look her up. She is single-handedly responsible for, well, not single-handedly. She and a few others, but she was kind of the instigator of reviving soft pastels in the United States and Europe. And I was pleased to call her a friend. You notice I'm just doing one at a time. Let's see if this comes in any better. Or not better, but I'm not going to white. I am coming up the color wheel. I am going to rub a little bit right along this edge to get a smoother blend. I'm not really rubbing per se, I am just tapping with a little bit of, what's the word? Intention. Soft pastels are the very closest medium to pure pigment, playing with pure pigment. There is so little binder in here, just enough. Mostly gum tarraganth. It's another something similar to gum arabic. Just enough to hold the stick together. Hold the powder together. Okay, now I see with my little eye. This little green right here. I can alter my drawing. I wonder where the stem of that flower is. Oh, it's under that leaf. Just a few marks of something a little brighter. And that was my lightest yellow. So I'm going to put a few judicious glazes. I want y'all to really take notice that you can see the layers underneath that. If you really looked hard under them, magnifying glass, you could see the watercolor underneath. Not much dust. And I think I'm going to put a little more white. And I'll come in here with a little darker red, a little reddish more than brownish. Again, let some of it show through. That will give it character. I am going to rub that just a little because I changed the shape just a hair. I don't know what this will do, but we're going to find out. Kind of a neutral tint. And I'm using it to kind of make these cohesive. And I'm not real crazy about that. This is a watercolor scrub brush. It's from Cheap Joe's and it's called a Fritch Scrub. It is a number 6. It's a bristle brush that's in there so tightly you can't even pry the things apart. Anything will work, and we can go back over that. And I do want this edge to be lost. I'll lighten this just a hair in this green. It's real easy in pastels to find things in the same value that are different colors. See this and that. Oh, and there's a piece of Terry Ludwig. How about that? Like that. These are all the same value. From a distance, they're all going to read as about a value 4, maybe. Shut one eye and squint the other. So conceivably, I could use any of those colors. And that brightens it up considerably. Just a little. And I'm going to prove it to you because I'm going to use some of this coral. And just for grins, let's put some pink in. Now, I know you can't see that from across the room, but you can see it with this. I still want that to be a little bit lighter. Using more of the side. I have my stick tilted up so I'm not getting the whole length of it. You must try soft pastels. They are delicious. Even if you claim that you don't care for the feel of the pigment, give it a try. I think they perhaps are among the easiest mediums to pick up, with watercolor being the hardest. And everybody wants to start with watercolor. I guess it's not as, doesn't look as difficult. Now see, I've used white on that, but you can barely see it because I just barely put it on. Now I need that hot yellow again. And maybe soft pastels are expensive. And I want to bring this out a little more dramatically. Which I can do. And then is it real or is it Memorex? Doesn't matter. It's mine. Soft pastel is also the most durable. Of all mediums. And the reason for that is that it's pure. It's the most pure. They are framed behind glass. I'm just playing. This is fun. Paintings that were done in the 1700s, portraits, are still viewable today, and the pigments are still just as vibrant as the day they were put on. Because they're not exposed to the air, and there's hardly any binder in them to attack the color. The only problem that soft pastels have had over the years is that the correct attention was not paid to the archival papers. Now, I didn't draw that line all the way down. I made it broken. It's like eating candy. You just don't want to stop. Well, this came out of my master kit for the I'm going to use this flesh tone again. Lots of folks pick out their palette before they start. And that is a good idea. For certain techniques. I, however, don't do that because I go by the value thing. Any value is okay as long as, any color is okay as long as it's same value. I don't like that right there. A little bit more harmonic. Not getting a whole lot of. Now, if I were over at my easel, I would have this vertical. And then the dust would just automatically fall to the bottom. There, that's better. Better. But it's the build-up of the color that makes these luminous. Now I need a shadow, and that color is a dull green. And that looks a little dark. And that comes on down. I don't want it to come down that much. I want it to come up here. Remember that cast shadows have a harder edge on them than form shadows. Here's a minty green. Again with the side. Just toning that down. And why does green work? Because green is the opposite of red. And I need my yellow back. Yellow back. What I see right there is that the green is still bright. So I'm going to put a little bit of dark red on top of it. Better. Come back in with my lightest yellow. Not much. Not much. And that's still too dark. Come on now. The color's about right. Just want to raise that. Raise that shadow just a hair. Don't worry about going around that. This isn't coloring book coloring. Or paint by number. This is seeing how many colors you can layer. And I'm going to bring, let's see, that's really a darker green. Keep an eye to where your light is. We know it's up here. Just a hint of a shadow there. This kit doesn't have any dark greens. Isn't that interesting? I'll even that up a little bit. And that is something akin to a Prussian blue. And I think that I'm going to use that to further shape that there. And again, you do not have to be heavy-handed to make this area look dark. You do not have to go in the same direction. You can scribble. Just do it with an easy hand. Now then, let's see what we can do with the other one. I'm going to take a picture of this in progress so we'll have it to talk about. There, see? Pretty good. And if you do happen to see some spots that you want to be smooth, by all means, smooth them. So I was just looking in that picture. I'm going to make this, I'm going to just do a medium swoosh with my finger. Your pinky finger has the least pressure on it. And I still want to get just a little bit more light right in here. And maybe with this yellow. Think about what you're doing. The light is coming in here, so this line right here conceivably is the shadow from this, the back side. And the light up here at the top is the light shining through this petal, which means that there's a secondary shadow line in here. And I'm going to try this. Okay. I don't want to cover up what's under it. Got that line going. How many times have I painted this now? Little things make a difference. And that line is where that the paddle overlaps there. My favorite workhorse pastel for this type of work is Rembrandt. I'm just making a few dots here and there with this dark brown. These are very, very soft. And they do have a tendency to cover up everything that's under them. So be extremely careful. I'm very lightly smoothing both directions. So bring some red down into the yellow and yellow back down into the red. Alright. Mighty Mouse, shut up. Shut up, shut up, shut up. Let's see, that was the green one. That was this lovely. Excuse me. Took a drink. Okay. Hardly any dust. That means this rough paper is really good for this. Okay. Now we're going to do the same build up. Again, I'm not trying to cover up what's under there. Go back to this salmon color. This has turned out to be a great color to unify the other yellows. There's just the barest of orange, except it's not really orange, it's just about like that. And I want this to come on up. Now let's do that green thing. Comes up and down. And then right in, kind of under that point, right in there. Tap, tap, tap. Sorry if I get quiet again. Just a little bit of this dark blue. Excuse me. Just barely making little marks. I don't want them to be blue. Leave something to the imagination. And when layered on top of that dark green, it begins to look green. Come along, come along. I'm going to try a little bit of this peachy color. Okay, now we need the Now if I really wanted to make a hard edge there, the best one for that is New Pastel. You've got two things here to look at. You've got a very little bit of the back side of the flower, and then you've got the part on the front that's curving. That's just something to keep in mind while you're trying to learn to paint what you see, not what you think you see. Actually, that is going up. A little bit more like that. Just a little bit. A little bit more like that. Just a little bit. Just a little bit more like that. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit more like that. Just a little bit. 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 See, we've got some crumbles there. This is what pastels do, and if you had that where you were catching them, I save those to make new sticks with. Now, where these two overlap, I have to make sure that it reads that way by having dark on one side and light on the top one. Let's see, this one's coming out, that one's going that way, and we've got one going that way, so I like that. A little bit of the white just to lighten generally. I am smoothing that just a little. Come back in with a little more of this to hide it. A little bit there. I guess overall I kind of smooth a little bit and leave a little bit rough to give it some textural interest. I need to get another set of new pastels. It is 4 o'clock, guys, and I have to go. I will be back.